9 News at noon.
Well, some of the world's top athletes got help training with the Gracie Diet.
And the secret involves a mix of 6 unique food groups. Orion Gracie is the founder of the Ultimate Fighting Championships. He's the author of the Gracie Diet. He's joining us live here this afternoon to tell us all about the Gracie Diet. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
I'm a big admirer of UFC and the Gracie family and Gracie Jiu-jitsu.
Thank you.
Big fan of Hoist Gracie. Now, you kind of divide everything up into food groups, and tell us what those groups are and how they interact.
The idea is to separate the foods properly within a meal so that you cause an easier digestion. So you can have group A, for example, are all vegetables and meats and eggs and oils and butter and nuts. All these foods should be combined on the same food in the same meal, plus 1 starch. So it's okay to have all this with rice or with beans or with potatoes, but not rice, beans, and potatoes and that all together. So the idea is to avoid blood acidity by properly combining foods within the same meal. Another thing is important to do is when you finish eating a meal that has meats, like I said, vegetables and all that, you should not have dessert with that. Because group food, for example, there are sweet fruits on group C right here. Those foods should not be combined with that because it causes a bad digestion. With that said, when you want to eat a sweet meal, which a lot of people feel like eating a little sweet taste after lunch or dinner or whatever, you should make a meal of sweet fruits. So you have your papayas and your apples and your pears and your dates and your honey and cheese. So make a meal of the sweet fruits by themselves, not as a combination with this one.
So it's more not about eliminating certain food from your diet, but just the way you eat them, the combinations?
Exactly. My uncle spent 65 years studying the food combinations, and that's exactly what the idea is. By combining the foods properly within a certain meal, you can basically eat anything you want.
And you were telling me just a few minutes ago that sometimes you eat a meal of nothing but fruit. You were saying you eat a meal of oranges.
Correct. Those are the acidic fruits, by the way. Acidic fruits should be eaten by themselves. So when a person makes a fruit salad, and if you just put fruits in there just to make a salad, you have to be very careful that you don't put acidic fruits in there. Oranges, for example, are a very healthy food, of course, like everything else. But if you have a glass of orange juice as a dessert or combined with other foods, it can cause an uncomfortable feeling. So when I eat orange, for example, I have a meal of 15 oranges.
15?
Yes. I just peel the oranges, suck the pulp, suck the juice out of the pulp and spit the pulp out. Same thing with strawberries, pineapples, whatever it is. Anytime you eat an acidic fruit, it should be a meal by that fruit alone.
You've talked a lot about meals. What about snacking? Is that okay?
No, there's no snacks.
Oh, excuse me?
No.
No snacking.
One of the basic concepts on the Gracie Diet is that you eat 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you should space your meals at least 4.5 hours apart in between meals. And there's no snacks. The only thing you should have between meals is water or fresh coconut water, for that matter. So you just basically can eat anything you want. When you eat cooked foods, you should not eat dessert and enjoy everything.
Now, the food groups you've laid out here, are these just like the food groups we've learned about? But it looks like you have the vegetables over there.
Vegetables, meats, eggs, butter, oils, all in here, nuts.
Okay, so you count all that as one food group.
That's one group, group A, yes.
So it's a little different than what the government would recommend a food group. Traditional thinking is a little different here.
Correct, yes. It is a very original way, in fact. For me, ultimately, the proof is on the pudding. I saw my father, who lived until he was 95, and my uncle until he was 94, both very healthy. And they are living proof of this combination concept works very well, especially if you're an athlete and you want to be healthy all the time. Anybody's going to benefit from eating like this. So,
and it sounds like it's not really a quick weight loss scheme.
Exactly.
It's not a fad diet. This is something that you make your way of life. You do this all the time.
Absolutely. My baby bottles were papaya and cream cheese and orange juice, mixed up all together. Not this orange, but a different kind of orange juice. But the bottom line is the way you combine your food just became a way of life. That's exactly right. It's not a losing weight way of combining your foods, but a lot of people notice losing weight as one of the consequences of eating healthy. You're going to lose the excess weight as a natural consequence of proper eating.
And one of the things you point out again is don't eat pork. Huh? No pork at all?
That's the only thing we don't eat is pork, yes. And of course, there's lots of information on GracieDiet.com. People can check it out and find out what else they can get.
What's up with the pork thing? Why no pork?
Originally, it was because pork carried the virus of trichinosis. In the early days when my uncle first came up with the concept. But ever since, we have just kept the same tradition, haven't eaten anything yet.
It sounds like you talk a lot about acids and things going on in your stomach. It sounds very scientific, but also maybe just a little bit of common sense.
Everybody knows that we should eat vegetables and fruits. The whole world knows enough about that. I don't have to repeat on that. The difference between the Gracie diet and other ways of people's way of combining in different diets is that my uncle was specifically very keen in studying the result of combining certain foods within a certain meal. Eating vegetables is good and eating fruits is good. But if you eat fruits and vegetables in the same meal, it's not as good for you. And the only way to find out is try it. You'll be amazed with the result and how much better, how much more energy you have all the time.
I was wondering about the energy level, because sometimes you sit down, you eat a meal. It doesn't even have to be a big meal, but afterwards you're just so sluggish and tired.
Yeah. And I have to say, energetic, because with all my 10 kids and the baby at 2 years old.
Yeah, he said 10 kids.
10 kids.
In the Gracie Diet book, do you address exercise at all?
Yes, the idea of the book is not to turn people into fanatics of any kind. We address exercise for the person who never thought of exercise. Anybody who likes exercising regularly, they're already ahead of the game. Okay. But for the person who never thought about exercising and thinks, dieting is not for me, we took an approach that is very humble, very gentle, so that the person who didn't like to eat right or didn't like to exercise now has a very simple introduction to this. Even if it's just to take a walk around the block. Mm-hmm. It's better to take that walk around the block than not do it. So it's a very smooth approach to that, very inviting and possible for everyone.
All right, makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
By the way, you can learn more about the Gracie Diet, the items in the 6 food groups we talked about here. You get recipes, and there's a link there where you can buy the book online. Just go to kcal9.com and click on Seen on TV. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you very
Hey,
much.
thanks for being here. We
pleasure.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right, up next, Weather Watch. Kai joins us for another look at that very rainy forecast.
And tour guides are making some big bucks these days off the upcoming royal wedding. Now offering visitors a trip down memory lane with some stops at some of London's most famous places. We'll tell you about that. Stay with us.